when ICE got ambushed in Texas, that wasn't a protest. It was a planned execution attempt. And while law enforcement was bleeding, Democrat leaders were defending the people who pulled the trigger. Let that sink in. Antifa terrorists opened fire. The Chicago mayor protected illegals, and the media is silent. But today, we're going to expose the truth. Let's roll the tape.
Welcome back. So there has been a series of really disturbing attacks against immigration officers lately. Some of them described by officials as, quote, planned ambushes. According to DHS, assaults on immigration enforcement officers are up almost 700% when compared to the same time last year. For more on this, we are joined by Chief Correspondent Jonathan Hunt, live with more. Hi, Jonathan.
Hey, Bill, let's get first to the ambush in Alvarado, Texas, which appears to be the most coordinated of all the recent attacks on ICE and Border Patrol agents and facilities. That attack began with at least 10 people, all dressed in what investigators describe as black military-style clothing, shooting fireworks at the Prairie Detention Center. Around 10 minutes later, one or two of them broke off from the main group and began spray painting the facility and vehicles parked there with words like traitor and other slogans. A police officer arrived responding to a 911 call, and at that point, one of the group, who had apparently hidden in trees near the facility, opened fire, hitting the officer in the neck, while another attacker, also across the street, fired dozens of rounds at officers from the facility.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
10 people have now been charged with attempted murder. As well as weapons and body armor, police also discovered anarchist literature and flyers in one of the vehicles used by the attackers, and a Faraday bag, a type of bag that blocks phone signals and which is commonly used by criminals to prevent law enforcement tracking their locations. Separately, investigators are also looking into the background of a man shot dead by Border Patrol agents after he opened fire on them at a facility in McAllen, Texas yesterday. And one of the big questions, Bill, yet to be answered is whether all of these attacks against ICE and Border Patrol are entirely separate incidents or whether there is some form of coordination behind them. And if so, who is organizing this violence and who might be funding it? Bill?
Yep, that is the big question, and it certainly feels like things are heating up out there. Jonathan Hunt.
First thing I'm going to say is 690%. That's not a rise. That's a war. ICE agents are being hunted. And the ones sounding the alarm are being called extremists for saying it out loud. We don't need gun control. We need enemy control. And you're about to see who the enemies really are. But first, let's talk about what actually went down in Alvarado, Texas. This ain't no hearsay. This is from the DOJ itself. This is the full clip, I believe.
11 people are charged in connection to what's described as an ambush on ICE detention officers in Johnson County. A police officer was shot responding to Prairieland Detention Center in Alvarado, about 40 miles southwest of Dallas. Our Meredith Yeomans is live with the details and why officials say this is evidence of a growing problem. Meredith?
Yeah, Brittany, this dramatic scene unfolded late Friday night when police got a call about a suspicious person, possibly with a gun, outside that detention center, which holds people awaiting deportation. It turns out officials now say about a dozen people were preparing to carry out a coordinated attack on law enforcement.
3 days after chaos unfolded outside Prairieland Detention Center, today officials revealed what they say happened.
It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest.
In a newly unsealed federal criminal complaint, at about 10:30 Friday night, 10 to 12 individuals wearing all black began shooting fireworks towards the detention center to draw ICE personnel outside.
And it worked.
Photos of alleged vandalism committed by at least one person who investigators say broke off from the group were included in the complaint. They show vehicles and a guard structure with spray paint.
The graffiti had such words as traitor, ice pig.
Acting U.S. Attorney Nancy Larson says when two unarmed officers approached the vandals, another person in the woods opened fire, shooting an Alvarado police officer responding to the scene in the neck.
Another assailant who was across the street, nowhere near the corrections officers, shot 20 to 30 rounds at these unarmed corrections officers.
Investigators say Bradford Morris was pulled over minutes later and found an AR-style rifle and ballistic-style vest in his minivan. According to the complaint, Morris claimed that he met some people online and transported them down from Dallas to, quote, make some noise. Several others arrested nearby were armed and wearing body armor, according to Larson.
Law enforcement officers found spray paint. They found flyers such as Fight ICE Terror with Class War.
10 people are now charged with attempted murder of a federal officer. Another's charged with obstruction. No personnel at the facility were injured, but as for that Alvarado officer shot in the neck, Brittany, the Johnson County Sheriff's Office says they were flown to a hospital, treated, and released.
Okay. All right, good to hear. It's recovering. Meredith, thank you.
They dressed in black, lured ICE agents out with fireworks, then opened fire. That's a hit squad. And the same people who scream about democracy and saving lives are silent when it's law enforcement in the crosshairs. Why is that? Because it was never about safety. It was always about power to them. Now, I know I said full clip right before I played this, but what I meant was the next clip is the full clip of the press conference from Nancy Larson. However, the feds, they knew this was no protest. They said it clear. So let's stop pretending this was anything else.
We're here to tell you that late at night on July 4th, Friday night at approximately 10:37 p.m., at the Prairieland ICE Detention Center in Alvarado, Texas, 10 to 12 individuals dressed in black military-style clothing began shooting fireworks and engaging in acts of vandalism at the facility. And this was part of an organized attack. Today, my office has charged 10 individuals with 3 counts of attempted murder of a federal officer. Each of the 10 are also charged with 3 counts of discharging a firearm in relation to a crime of violence. Each of these defendants faces a mandatory prison term of 10 years and up to life in prison. An additional co-conspirator was charged with obstruction of justice and conspiracy for attempting to conceal and destroy evidence in relation to the attack, and he faces up to 10 years in prison. Let's discuss the incident. It was a planned ambush with the intent to kill ICE corrections officers. Make no mistake, this was not a so-called peaceful protest. It was indeed an ambush.
When the government actually admits it was an assassination attempt, you better pay attention. Because the only reason they even charged these people is because the body cam footage and evidence were overwhelming. Otherwise, it would have been spun as angry protesters. Also, law enforcement getting shot in the neck. If that wouldn't have happened, come on now. These weren't protesters. These were terroristic acts right here. That's acts of terrorism. But when the feds were charging domestic terrorists, Democrat mayors were attacking the people defending our borders, y'all. Y'all remember what Karen Bass did yesterday?
The federal government is not leaving L.A. I don't work for Karen Bass. The federal government doesn't work for Karen Bass. We're going to be here till that mission's accomplished, as I said, and better get used to us now because this is going to be normal very soon.
The federal government had to step in because the city of L.A. wouldn't. Mayor Karen Bass said, get out. And the Border Patrol agents said, no, it's not happening. Nah. That's what happens when politicians forget who the enemy is. And in Democrat cities, the criminals get sympathy while law enforcement obviously gets the obvious betrayal. But it gets darker because in this next clip, it suggests someone inside ICE or DHS leaked the raid plans to help the criminals escape.
All right, I am in MacArthur Park. As you can see, it's completely cleared out. ICE and DHS just completely raided the park. Over 150 officers, authority personnel. They had fully militarized vehicles, horses. They were armed to the gild. Activists came in through here 15 minutes before they raided the park and cleared as many people out as they could. It's a crazy scene here. Basically, people chased them away, so they didn't actually get to take anyone away. They used it as a photo op, and I'm not entirely certain how that works in their favor because it's one of the scariest scenes I've ever seen here in LA, of just military vehicles lining the street. And I don't mean one or two, I mean like dozens and dozens, and fully armed military guard, National Guard. This is insane. This is insane. I don't know what to say. I ran here from another location. As I was running, businesses where there's a parking lot, they had gated everything, locked it with chain link, with a chain. People were closing the fronts of their stores, trying to hide. I do not know how to express enough. This is not normal in America. And if you think that we are overreacting in LA, you better buckle up and get ready, because this is coming to your town, this is coming to your city. This isn't just like people picking up a person they're looking for. They are just showing up and grabbing dozens of people. You need to pay attention to what's happening.
So you're telling me Antifa just guessed the exact time and location? Somebody tipped them off. That's treason. We don't just have a law enforcement problem. We got a betrayal problem. And if there's a snitch inside ICE helping these anarchists and these terrorists, I'm trying to think of what other words, traitors, escape justice, then we're not just under attack. We're infiltrated, y'all. And now, meet the ones behind the ambush. These aren't freedom fighters. These are domestic terrorists hiding behind pronouns and propaganda, y'all.
Yet another terror attack in the United States of America by these left-wing Antifa lunatics. And this morning, we have mugshots. Ready? Take a look. Fellas, let's pull the mugshots up. Andy No shares these. These are the 10 alleged members of the North Texas Antifa terror cell, accused of carrying out the attempted murder, of federal officers at a shooting terrorist attack at that ICE facility last week. And now I want you to direct your attention, if you're watching the video version of the show, and first of all, this is as predictable as it can get. Look at all these guys. Look at the bottom two on the left. Look at those two people. Both of those people, according to Andy No, are men who are pretending to be women. That's right. We have another incident where it appears that so-called transgender people are responsible for a terror attack in the United States. On the far left, on the bottom, you've got someone whose real name is Bradford Morris. He goes by Megan Morris, according to Andy No's reporting on this. Additionally, the guy immediately to his right, the least convincing woman I've ever seen, his name is Cameron Arnold. He goes by Autumn Hill. Autumn Hill. So these are the guys who've all been arrested. Those are their mugshots. They've got, I like that they have the old school black and white stripe prison.
The media won't show you these faces because they'll ruin the narrative. This is who they're protecting. This is who Democrats make excuses for. Some of them lied about who they even are. And yet the system still bends over backwards and treat them like victims. No. These ain't victims. These are criminals. Point blank period, no matter which way you try to slice it. And just to think, when you think it can get worse, one man threatened to kill ICE agents and their children. Tell me again, who the dangerous are? Who the dangerous ones are? Matthew White, just arrested for allegedly posting multiple threatening messages to kill ICE agents and their children. This dude posted, pow pow, the ICE agent. But first this guy pisses me off. Trying to maintain my cool. And where did this dude get his rage from? From Democrats pushing the lie that ICE is evil and ICE is the enemy and what they're doing is unlawful. Words have consequences. And the left's rhetoric is getting people harmed. Even worse, killed. But the worst betrayal of all is coming from inside city halls. Watch what Chicago's own mayor, Brandon Johnson, just told the world.
And division. Look, we are a welcoming city ordinance. Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE. Whatever their constitutional authority is. And division.
Whatever
Look,
their
we are a welcoming city
authority is, he says. ICE agents just got ambushed, and this man says he won't help. You're supposed to lead the city, not shield illegal criminals from justice, bro. No wonder his approval rating is in the gutter and everything else about him. When you side with lawbreakers, man, you lose people. And while this failed mayor plays defense for criminals, the thugs on the streets are getting bolder. Watch what happens in L.A. just hours after the ambush.
Breaking news now in Hyde Park tonight, where an unruly crowd began attacking LAPD officers, throwing bottles at patrol cars, and slashing tires on several of those units. The crowd had gathered for a vigil at Hyde Park and Crenshaw Boulevards when the confrontation erupted. Officers had been called to the scene after reports of the intersection being blocked by people. LAPD officers called for backup and formed a skirmish line to disperse the crowd. Several patrol cars had to be towed after their tires were slashed. Breaking news now in Hyde Park tonight, where
No, this ain't civil disobedience. This is domestic warfare. You slash police tires, you ambush officers. You're not oppressed. You're the problem. But Democrat leadership stays quiet because chaos is useful when you're trying to control through fear. And then comes the gaslighting, the entitlement, the victim complex weaponized. Here's what one protester screamed to ICE.
You guys should be defending us from the domestic terrorists sitting in the office. Traitors! The people of the United States need you right now. Stand with us. You took an oath to the Constitution. Let me see. I blank do solemnly swear that I support and defend the people of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Why are you not defending us from the domestic terrorists sitting in the office? Especially the black and the brown people. You guys should be standing with us. Our ancestors did not fight the fight that they fought years ago, so you should be standing there. We love you guys, but you guys don't love us back.
What?
Our streets! Our streets! Our streets!
See, this is the result of woke propaganda. They're screaming for ICE protection while ICE agents are bleeding out, as you've seen throughout this video. And they still think Trump is the villain. You cannot fix a nation when lies are louder than the truth. But shout out to y'all, man. Team Think, we never back down, and I appreciate y'all for that. We definitely always say what they want. And, you know, here I would like to think that we try to protect who they abandon and expose the games clip by clip. This is bigger than nice. This is a war on order, truth, and the very soul of this country. So if you're watching this, don't just scroll. Make sure you share. Share this. Leave a comment. Get loud. Because while they push the chaos, we're going to push the clarity. Y'all be safe. Go check with somebody today. You could be saving their life. Peace.